So an initial form of digital identification has been rolled out today in the UK. And this is in the form of digital veteran cards. And essentially we can think about this as like the pre-alpha tests of the digital ID that everyone will be getting by the end of 2027. Now there's a few articles about this. We're going to check out Sky News article about this, but to me this article sounds a lot like propaganda, and I will let you draw your own conclusions, but the way it reads is really strange. The first digital ID launches today. Digital veteran ID cards are launching today, and the government wants to digitise passports, driving licence and others by the end of 2027. From today, digital veteran cards are available for ex-members of the armed services, the first step in the digitisation of almost every form of ID. Which, by the way, having people that formerly served in the military, potentially against enemy states, having all of their identity digitised and available as one set of data, that's a bit of a national security concern, isn't it? No, this isn't the controversial mandatory right to work checks announced recently, but more on that later. But it's part of the same programme for pretty much all forms of government identification to be accessible on your phone by the end of 2027. This will mean passports, driving licenses, national insurance cards and many more being virtual instead of, or as well as, being stashed in a shoebox or under socks in a drawer. The thing is the government currently can't access my sock drawer, but they can access my phone. At the event at the Tower of London, chosen for its millennia-old juxtaposition with the digital revolution, Beefeaters showed off their shiny new cards and joked of using it to get discounted food. There was an occasional tech hiccup here and there with getting the cards downloaded, mostly due to dodgy internet it seemed, but in general it was all smiles. See what I mean about the whole propaganda element? The minister in charge of the rollout, Ian Murray MP, crowded the benefits of having documents on your phone and how it will make life easier for the government. We all use our smartphones in everyday life, he explained. So it's about making the relationship with the citizen easier and making the access to government services easier. Which once again, that's a line that they keep saying about making access to government services easier, like you can't just walk into a hospital now and receive the government services that you need. For example, things like claiming benefits. Yeah, to be honest, they're complicated processes, but a lot of the complicated processes are things like waiting on the phone and having to deal with all of the various different people in different departments. This isn't about making it easier for British citizens. Yes, to be fair, and I will give the government the benefit of the doubt on this, it probably will be a little bit faster to give like a government ID code or something and they're able to check all the information. But like we've got this much benefit, but the downside to all of this is that the government have access to all of your information in the click of a button, as well as enemy states being able to hack a centralised database of all that information, plus the fact the government, whether it's this current government or a future government, could exploit access to that information to penalise people. With IDs being on our phones, they're also going to be closely connected to things like Apple Wallet or your Google Wallet, where your bank cards are, and your location data. And all of this information on your phone is going to be linked to all of your activity. And it's not about whether you've done anything wrong, it's about the fact that someone can access all of that. There's a risk that when you go on a night out in London, you could get yourself into a fight. But you know that if you don't go on a night out in London, you're not going to get yourself in a fight in London. And the great thing is you're in control of whether you go out on a night in London. In the case of digital identification, once you're signed up, you have absolutely zero control of how the government handle that data. And more to the point, you have zero control over the security of that data. Mr. Murray said he's looking forward to the end of having to continuously fill out my name, my address and my telephone number, and instead just scanning his phone. Which once again presents another issue. If a website or a service asks for maybe an address or phone number, you give them just that information. With digital identification, you're not just giving them the select bits of data that you choose to give, you're giving them access to all of your financial records, your bank accounts, all of this information which you hold privately and you should hold privately. And then this brings us to the question of how will this all work? Well, very quickly, I want to say a very brief thank you to Shortform, today's video sponsor. Before I go ahead and buy a book, I like to have a good understanding of the book and the author. And thanks to Shortform, this problem is solved. There's a lot of services out there that will try and summarize books for you, but no service even comes close to short form. Not only does short form have a team of expert writers that actually go through and summarize the books, but also, as you can see on screen, the amount of other things they offer compared to their competitors is leaps and bounds ahead of anyone else. Actually, within a week of using short form, I cancelled my subscription with Blinkist, which I have been using for 5 years. They also have master guides on different topics, so rather than summarizing one book, you can have a wealth of information from multiple books under each individual category. You can also use their browser extension to summarize web pages, videos, whatever it might be. You can summarize all of it. Recently, I've been making a conscious effort to understand mindset and my own mindset and how I tackle problems. And one of the books I've recently gone through is a book called Mindset. And well, to be honest, that deserves a whole video in itself. Essentially, what you need to know is short forms like the Netflix of books, and it acts as your gateway to tons of information by incredible writers for less than the cost of one book a month. Using my link down below, you get yourself a free trial and 2 months off an annual plan. So make sure you go and check them out. I genuinely think you'll find it really useful. I'm so far loving it. Now back to the video. Having all government documents accessible in an Apple or Google Wallet styled app is the end goal. And the solution is being built on a similar secure technology that underpins storing payment cards on your phone. Like I said, this is based on the wallet app system that we currently have through Apple and Google, which by itself is actually pretty good and it is relatively secure. But it's only secure as the information you give out, and that's the problem. You'll be giving out more information. The work is being done in-house by Government Digital Service, part of the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology that houses a digitization expertise in Whitehall. Yes, the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, the same department that said that if you don't like the Online Safety Act, you're on the side of nonces. Yes, the same people. It's also worth noting they are saying it's all been done in-house, but they are consulting with third-party data management companies to do this. And more to the point, the UK government currently doesn't have the infrastructure to hold securely everyone's identification in the UK, so they would have to lease that from a third party or somehow manage to build all of that infrastructure. Well, they're already rolling out digital identification, so yes, third parties will be involved even if the government are heading it up, which is a little bit misleading on the government's part. Any mention of digitization of the personal information raises questions around security, but the government insists its solution is safe with a federated approach. Oh, guys, sorry, you were worried about your information being safe. Don't worry, the government said it will be, which by the way is pretty much verbatim the same thing that Estonia said just before 75% of its population's digital identification got leaked. To use the example of a veteran's ID, this would mean that the original data of who is a veteran, where they served, and all the other relevant information would remain with the Ministry of Defence. Or in their text messages on their phone, when they tell people about what they've done or where they've been, or share some information with family, friends, and their phones are also susceptible to being hacked with their identification on it. Once the sign-in and verification with this data is being completed on a phone, this can then be used to prove someone is a veteran and easily give them access to housing, mental health support, shopping discounts, museum entry and other benefits, the government says. Or you could just give them that support anyway. Knowing people that served in multiple wars, the actual support mechanisms in place for veterans in the UK suck. It's not about proving who they are. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part is the government actually providing them with the help and support and services that they need to continue living after. The verification process is easy. They have the identity, they have the verification, and they have the proof of where they served, how long they were in for. They have all of their relative identification processes already in place. So the government saying that this will help veterans is a lie. In order to get the card on your phone, you would need to use the phone security, such as a face scan, fingerprint, or PIN code. Honestly, it's so easy to brute force your way into an iPhone. You can even buy things on Temu to do it. There's even talk that technology like contactless could be used with the government's version of the wallet to tap and verify things like age in an off license. Right, what? The NFC chip in an iPhone is really useful, even for things like banking. But there has been many instances of people being able to walk past people and simply tap to scan data. Having digital identification that could be wirelessly accessed without us knowing is a problem, especially when you lift up your phone and it automatically unlocks. For all you know, the very desk that you're sat on in a McDonald's or something could have an NFC chip underneath it. You could be typing away on your phone and someone could be scanning or ripping that data. But they actually want to make it contactless. Sorry, I'm breaking away from the video a bit here, but that is absolutely absurd. No. That sentence there genuinely concerns me. That shows that they have absolutely zero idea of the security risks involved in this. The hope from the government is that it can speed up tedious paper-based interactions like house buying, passport control, and the right to work. Look, I know I'm trying to like convey all this information to you and I'm trying to like read it all out to you, but we need to have a serious talk for a second about the state of the UK. At the moment in the UK, we have a lot of problems, whether it comes to housing, the lack of, or the cost of housing. We have issues at the moment with immigration. Obviously, it's a huge problem in the UK at the moment. We have problems with crime. We have children doing abhorrent things to other children. We have problems with the education system. We have significant issues. Now, a lot of the past, 3 or 4 months have been dedicated to things like the Online Safety Act and digital identification, and the government saying how they're going to tackle all of these issues and they're going to make the UK, move into the future. I'm not a politician, and nor am I qualified to be. I do not have the knowledge and contextual information of how the UK and its economy works. I'm just a YouTuber and someone that conveys their opinion and ideas on the internet. But the UK has bigger problems than this. Like, they've said it's going to cost about £1 billion to introduce this and 100 million a year to run it. When it comes to a list of the things that people currently have issues with in the UK, having to give a government agent your address and phone number on the phone when trying to apply for something is not the biggest concern the UK population currently have. This is not a concern that people have raised in their millions. Maybe a couple of thousand people have complained to HMRC when they're trying to file their taxes that it's a bit complicated, but this is not a priority for the British people. And the fact that this is getting pushed through so heavily in so many different forms and so much investment is being made of British taxpayer money into this really does start to like drill home that this isn't really about what the UK population really want. It's more about what the government wants to institute as a form of like surveillance or being able to manage and track the UK population. The problem is when talking about topics like this, it's very easy to kind of get like pigeonholed as a conspiracy theorist. It's very easy for a lot of people within government to say, oh yeah, crazy nut jobs talking online. But I'm hoping to anyone that's on the fence about how dangerous this stuff is, they can watch videos like this and see that this isn't about like trying to push a narrative that government bad. I am pro-government, weirdly. I know, contradiction to my channel. I'm pro-government, but I'm pro-government and acting on behalf of the people and doing what's best for the economy. We need people that are like making sure that healthcare services work fine, and we need people in charge of these various things because it won't just run itself. But we also need a government that's acting in the best interest of the British population, and there's rarely been a government, in fact in my lifetime there hasn't been a government that's really done what's best for the people at all costs. This is not an example of doing what's best for the British population. It really does upset me and sadden me that like at one point in time, the UK, we had like a monumental navy. We had immense power as a nation. And we did a lot of shitty things as a country. Don't get me wrong. I'm not excusing. There was a sense of pride in our nation. Like if you talk about like World War II, when we had the Blitz and we were fighting back against the Germans, and like there was a sense of pride. There was an industry that was booming. We were proud to be British. And this isn't about like where you're born. This isn't about race, religion, or anything like that. It's a sense of looking at our own government and being like, thank you for doing what's good for us, or at least inspiring us as a nation to be better and do better. What the fuck has happened to our country? Like, we're at the point now where like we're seeing all of this propaganda online about how people loving digital identification, people are there's smiles all around. This isn't what the UK population want. No one asked for this. No one wants this. We need to prioritize getting our country back to being stable. Forget being powerful and brilliant. Stable. Now, there's actually a second half to this article talking about the nature of the digital identification and the right to work checks. And it's actually the first public statements we've seen from the government that really expand on it. I'm going to break that into a separate video because that deserves its own set of attention. I don't want that to be buried at the end of one of these videos. That's going to get its own dedicated video. And thank you for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure you check out short form down at the link below. Honestly, it's a really good service. Hopefully you enjoy it. And thank you for watching, and I shall see you all in the next one.